Hello everybody, welcome back to the breakdown. I'm Tone. It's fantastic to have you here with me once again. Now before I get into the topics, and there's quite a few of them for tonight, before I get into them, might I suggest that you put this video on pause, go make yourself a coffee, Milo, cup of tea, hot chocolate, grab some cookies or something sweet to eat, because what I'm going to be sharing here is quite likely going to be spicy, and it's most definitely going to be salty. And I've had it on good opinion and good advice that salty things usually go well with sweet things. So pause the video if you would like to. Go grab yourself something, because this video could be quite a little bit longer than some of the other ones I've put out. So, yep, I'll let you go do that. Welcome back. Hope you've got yourself something nice to enjoy. Let's get straight into this stuff. Now, I covered in a previous video about a potential truck strike that wasn't to do with employment issues. It was more to do with this push for COVID mandates and travel restrictions and all those sorts of things. Now, I have it on good authority that this never occurred. Now, I'm disappointed, and there's two reasons. One, because I believe that if enough people did it, they would have been heard, they would have got their matter heard, and we might have seen some result from it. The other one is, I'm not sure if you've ever heard the story about the tower that a man set to build. Had big plans, and he certainly talked up a big story about it, but he got halfway through and he hadn't thought it through. Hadn't thought about the cost that he would have to bear to do it. Didn't think through the materials that he would require, and it stood there for many, many years, uncompleted. And, well, what does that say about him? Well, the story goes that anyone who ever saw that tower was familiar with the story about the guy that started a big project and didn't finish it. And these truck drivers who talked up quite a big game and had their purpose well and truly known, it wasn't made super public in the mainstream media, of course. It was just sort of skirted around, but they never went through with it anyway. It was briefly mentioned in the mainstream media that that particular truck strike, for what reason, wasn't stated, but it never occurred. So, disappointing. Anyway, I want to get pretty deep in this video. And it's going to be predominantly about these new controls that are being proposed that are going to affect a lot of people. And I want to sort of start off by touching on some things that perhaps you've already come up against if you're watching this video. If you've got any objections, and I'm not talking about objections simply only based on evidence or on data or any of those things. I'm talking about just simply you object to being told what you must do to your own body in order to, so that's what I want to start off with. And it's interesting but not surprising that only doctors and famous people who support the rollout of this vaccine are getting any airtime. Now, this doesn't mean that there aren't doctors, and indeed some famous people, who do not agree with how this is all being handled. But of course, you won't hear from them. They don't get any airtime. So that's the first thing. You see all these ads that keep coming out about go and get the jab. And so we can open up and, we're all in this together and all of that sort of thing. Of course, it's all pro-vaccination. Now, as I've already said, I am not anti-vax. But the problem is, anyone who does say anything about this vaccine, whether it be that they don't want to get it simply because they're waiting on data to be verified and they want to see how safe it is, they're put into a boat that claims that they are anti-vaxxers. Now, that's a load of rubbish, an absolute load of rubbish, because a lot of people that don't subscribe to how this is being handled are anti-vax at all. They've probably had all of the vaccinations growing up, going through school, and indeed have probably even gone and got the flu shot from time to time. But they're not subscribing to going to, or, they're not following the agenda, and they're not going and getting this particular vaccine yet, or if ever. It doesn't make them anti-vax at all, because anti-vax means they wouldn't get any vaccines. So that's the first thing that I want to cover. Not everybody that's having an issue with this particular vaccine rollout and this whole particular issue is anti-vax. Now, I've been on the receiving end of this a few times, and I'm certain that there will be plenty of other people in the same boat. Being told that just because you're not a doctor and you don't have some sort of medical degree, you're told that your opinion or your idea or your thoughts on the matter are invalid, or are superseded by their superior knowledge. Now, I've never claimed to be a doctor, and I've never wanted to be one. And I do submit to doctors and their advice. Most certainly I do. And that's why I made the mention before that there are doctors that say no to this vaccine, and there's plenty that say yes. And they've got valid reasons to get it and to not get it, based on opinion, based on knowledge, based on experience, however you like. But that would then suggest that any doctor that is out there that claims that they believe this vaccine is not in the best interests of everybody, and that they don't agree with how it's being handled, well, by that same logic, they would be lumped in with the likes of me, who I don't have a medical degree. So that's another piece of rubbish that might get thrown your way, or may have already been thrown your way. And I'll put this out there too. Not a degree at university is not the beginning of knowledge, and it's certainly not the beginning of wisdom. Wisdom supersedes knowledge, okay? And I'll qualify that by saying that there will be times when you don't actually know something and you don't have any prior experience yet, but you may have thought through the issue in terms of how you think you may handle it, having no experience, no prior experience, and not a whole lot of research. And yet when it comes to the point of impact, so to speak, you make a informed decision that's certainly better than having not considered it beforehand, that is good enough. It's still a wise decision that you've made. Now, obviously, wisdom would be beneficial, or would be benefited by having extra knowledge, but it doesn't always require you to have some sort of superior knowledge. That's interesting. Got a police car pulled up at the back. Not entirely sure I understand what's going on there. Very interesting. Could be an ambulance. Excitement down the street. Oh, curfew. 9 p.m. Okay, well, that was all rather exciting, rather interesting. I'm not entirely sure what they were parked up down the street for, but anyway, I've kind of lost my train of thought. Pretty sure the last little bit that I was just talking about was merely anecdotal, and my experience of life and how I've made decisions, and how the majority of the ones that worked out the best were ones that I'd considered well and truly before I even came up against needing to deal with any of those issues. So we'll leave that one there. Now, another thing that you may have been told or have said to you is that all drugs, and indeed various types of foods, have side effects and have allergies. And no one's going to dispute that. Of course, that's true. Nothing is completely foolproof and perfect. But you see, there's one problem with that argument, and that is that you're not mandated to take the contraceptive pill. It's not mandated to you. You're not told, right, if you're a woman and you want to work for our company, you must be able to prove that you are on the contraceptive pill. We don't want you having any risk of having children while you're working for us. Now, if that sounds completely ridiculous, it is. Of course it is. And it doesn't happen. And for good reason. Personal autonomy is a human right. Okay? No one's mandating that you consume any particular type of food. So the argument that other drugs, different types of foods, have side effects and then relate it to this particular issue and how it's being handled does not correlate. It can't, because it's not being treated the same. So while you'll find when people want to argue something, you'll find some that argue the points on merit, and you'll also find others who argue a point and they use elements of truth that kind of falls over when it's tested by simple logic. Logically thinking that through, you understand that while the first part of what was said is true, it doesn't correlate across to this particular issue because they're not being handled the same way. They're definitely not being treated the same way, so that falls over. That's that moves into this particular vaccine, this particular drug. I want to move away from, as I spoke in the beginning of the video, I think, I want to move away from the merits of the vaccine or its effectiveness or any of those things. Those things can be debated. There's little evidence to suggest anything either way, and that's going to be part of the reason for people to have their hesitancy, and that's understandable. But one thing we can say, and it links to what I just said before about other drugs not having ever been treated like this, we now understand that people are not going to be able to go and get a job unless they can prove on their CV that they are fully vaccinated, or at least have shown that they're moving in that direction and have at least had their first shot or something like that, with a second shot booked in or something like that. Okay, so there'll be job losses to come. People will lose their jobs because they will refuse. And there'll be others that have to wait a little while before they can be employed because they haven't yet had the chance to get it. Travel denied, even just between the states of our great country. How great our country is starting to be a little questionable. Other countries are looking at us, and I don't think they're laughing. I think they're pitying. They're pitying us. But travel denied even between states to the unvaccinated. So even after everything opens up, the vaccinated can move freely. The unvaccinated will be very restricted. Okay. And we know that is coercion. So that's not saying you must go and get it. It's saying if you haven't got it, you can't do these things. That's coercion, right? And coercion in this sense most certainly is abuse. Okay. And under any other circumstances, this kind of conversion would most likely have the entire country rising up against the government. Okay. But what's happened is everyone's fearful of something that the majority get better from. Everyone's fearful because it's been drummed into them and they've simply accepted it. Okay, as we've already talked about it, there are risks in life all around us. We might just happen to eat something we've never eaten before and we're dead on the floor. Okay, and that doesn't mean that we wrap ourselves in cotton wool, stuff ourselves in the closet, stay in the bed and lay in the bed all day just because we might get hit by a car by one in a however many million or one in a however many 100,000 chance of that happening in a day. We live our life. What's going on right now is not living for a lot of people. They're existing, but they certainly wouldn't be feeling like they're living. And we're being told that the only way we can get back to living our life the way we'd like is to comply. That's coercion, and most certainly abuse. Now, also wanted to say that it's interesting. There are a lot of people out there talking to or talking about and referring to those that are even just hesitant, but definitely those who are refusing to follow this mandated idea and go and get the vaccine, and they're being called stupid and selfish. But you'll find that, from my experience and from what I've heard, you won't find anyone who's on this other side saying to the vaccinated and those that are choosing to go and get vaccinated, no one's calling them stupid or selfish. Probably the only thing that they're going to get told is it's none of your business. It's absolutely none of your business if I've been vaccinated or not. And it really isn't in any other case. I mean, if I went to anyone and I said, are you on the pill? Have you ever had a flu vaccine? You know, any other type of drug. Have you ever partaken in this kind of thing or that kind of thing? Everyone would be, by their own, they'd be within their rights to tell me to go get stuffed. None of your business. I'm not telling you what I've done or what I'm going to do. Right? So, how is this different? Well, it's because it's not just about the virus. It's not just about the vaccine. It's not. If it was, then the discussion would be completely different, and the measures and the rhetoric around it would not be what it is. But we can't hypothesize what it would be if we didn't have that rhetoric. We've got that rhetoric. So we know, just based on that there's more to it than what we're being told. It's being used, okay? This whole issue, this whole crisis is being used for something. I don't think I can even see far enough ahead to know how far this is going to go. I've been on this train of thought about crises and how they've been used in the past to get other things, through the back door, whether it be policies in government or whether it be just conditioning people for the next phase of what they're doing. I've been on this train of thought for a very, very long time. So while it's not surprising me what's happening, it is surprising me how fast it's happening. Okay, so I just wanted to put all of that together in a video. And now, also wanted to, excuse me, also wanted to talk about some financial matters. Apparently, our country is not in recession. We've got some economic data that becomes available on the first day of spring, first day of September. We find out a whole bunch of economic data, and we haven't gone into a recession according to the numbers. Now, to me, I haven't been able to check out all the numbers and everything like that, but the economy compared to 2018, 2019, it's now dead. The only thing that's keeping it alive is, it's on steroids. Maybe it's not even on steroids. Yeah. If you can think of someone's put on the drip, they're just being given fluids intravenously. But you've got steroids and you've got all sorts of other stuff going in it, not just the basic essentials. That's what the economy's on right now. It's the only thing that's stopping it from collapsing. Right. Now, listening to a podcast regarding all of this stuff today, and they put it down to, and this doesn't surprise me either, they put it down to the fact that while everyone's still in lockdown, and they have been given stimulus money, or they're still getting paid by the government for dole payments or whatever, everyone's still spending. In fact, some various companies are performing very, very well because the money's flowing straight through the hands of the holder, the receiver of the money, straight through to their company because, no one's got anything else to do. So they're buying stuff. And I've covered this in previous videos. You see, the economy right now, even though it's on life support, it's not showing in the figures. The overall figures aren't showing the exact state of the economy because people are still spending as if tomorrow or next week or next year things will go back to normal, which allows government to put that issue to the side because the economy continues to tick over, so they can continue to push whatever mandates and whatever policies and everything like that they want to. They can. They've got no real hang up on that. And it goes back to what I was saying about these truck drivers. If these truck drivers did go on strike, and if enough people stopped spending so much currency and the velocity of the currency through the economy slowed down and people just simply held on to it, while it might cause a little extra short-term pain for a lot of small businesses, and most certainly would flow through to the bigger businesses, it would make the financial numbers look very, very, very ugly. It would get a response that I think everyone wants. And this is despite anything to do with virus or vaccine. We're talking about the economy itself, it would get responded to. Now, all of these measures that are in place at the moment, including curfew, they're well and truly beyond what they need to be. But they're able to do it. They've got literally free money at the moment flowing through from the central bank or central banks and the major central bank, the Federal Reserve itself. Money's flowing from there and they're getting it. Interest rates are at what? Do you think that that's a coincidence that the interest rates are this low when this has all started to happen? I don't believe in coincidences. It's certainly all engineered. And so the money comes through. There will have to be a payback at some point, and that's going to hurt. And if you haven't started preparing yourself for what's likely to come in an economic sense, if you haven't started to prepare yourself for that, then I don't know why you haven't. And I stress to you, get onto that, please. Right now, the share market's going gangbusters. That's not going to last because all of what's going on now isn't going to continue. Okay? It can't. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I know when a crash will happen or how long all of this good fortune or the appearance of good fortune is going to continue. That I have to play by ear. And I have a number of channels that I follow on YouTube to assist me in analysing that kind of thing. But if I can finish off this video, I think there's probably a few other things I'd like to cover, but this video's already got long enough. But if I can close off this video with something very simple. If you can zoom out from your own life, I'm sure you've got a lot of stuff going on. Everybody always does. Life always has curveballs coming from all angles. But if you can zoom out from what's affecting you directly, zoom out from and discard the majority of what you're hearing in the mass media, and logically look at how things have changed since you were younger and even just in the last couple of years. Look at the macro. Look at everything and how it's happened. Okay. If you can do that, and then you can come back and zoom in on how some of the smaller things are happening and not see them differently, well, boy, I don't know how you'd manage to do that, because each and every time I zoom out and look at everything on a macro level and then zoom back in on a particular issue, I can view it differently every time, because all things are connected and all things have flow-on effects. But we've got to look at the macro stuff. If we're not looking at all of the things that are sort of going on seemingly behind the scenes that are indirectly affecting us, although I'm going to say far more directly these days, if we don't have the ability to look at things in that way, then we're going to be in the same boat as all of the others that have been completely blindsided by this and still don't know it yet. Okay. So that's my encouragement to you. If you can, please start to look at things the way they really are. And let's not just make it about the virus. Let's not just make it all about the vaccine. Let's not just make it all about the government. Let's make it all about the big picture and get as much understanding as we can and realize that what we might find out by ourselves is quite likely to be a darn sight different to what we're being fed through the mass media. And remember, a truth that has an outer coating of truth, but some deceptive inner workings inside, some lies, or some conveniently removed pieces of truth, which automatically makes it a lie. We've got to be careful of those things. And we've got to be careful of the people that speak them. Okay? We've got to be careful of that. Anyway, guys, as I said, it was going to be a pretty deep and heavy video. Thank you for sticking with it until the very end. I hope you enjoyed your cookies or cake or your Milo coffee, tea, or whatever else you might have had, a hot chocolate. And I hope that this has helped to sort of break things down a little bit. Hope that it's sort of opened your mind a little bit. I hope it's encouraged you. I'm not sharing any of this stuff to make you afraid. I just would like you to be awake rather than awoke. I really do appreciate you coming and watching these videos, and please share this video as wide as you would like to. There are others like myself who are talking about these things, although I think I'm covering them slightly differently. I should start to put a few links into my descriptions on my videos to some of these other channels that I do watch that are definitely encouraging to me, and I've learned a lot from them. But please share the video. I'm not even going to ask you to like it. If you didn't like it, if you liked it, leave that. Do what you'd like with that. But please share the video if you feel you would like to do that. That would be very helpful to me, and I'm sure helpful to others if you've already found it helpful. And that's really it. Thank you for joining me. Be encouraged. Continue to encourage and reach out to each other. This lockdown in Melbourne we've been told that it's going to extend for at least the next 3 weeks. Curfew still here. One small update, I will throw it in there. Children are allowed to go to the playground, which proves that it was never an issue in the first place. But kids are allowed to go to the playground with only one parent. Both parents cannot go. And explicit direction: do not drink your coffee at the playground. Quite ridiculous. And in fact, I almost forgot. That is the clown effect for this video. The fact that the playgrounds were taped up and closed off to children. But now it's proven that was never a necessary thing to happen. But now we're being told that only one parent can go with those children to that playground, and they're not allowed to consume a coffee. They must always be wearing their mask. They cannot take their mask off to be holding a coffee. That is the clown effect for today. That's ridiculous. It's rubbish. And I think anyone that can see through the masquerade that's going on right now could see it as such. So that's the clown effect for today. Anyway, thank you for joining me. And until next time, as I said, keep reaching out to each other, care about each other, and I'll see you in the next videos. Thank you so much, and take care. God bless.